Hi Bob, Jeff here, G8OFQ. As promised, a short video with some information on the RemoteRig system we're using. Let's start off with the hardware at the control end of the link here. We're running the K3 Mini, the dedicated remote front panel for the K3, absolutely identical in all respects. And that's connected to the RemoteRig box, a single cable connected to the various sockets, 12-volt DC power cable, and we're running with the Heil Elite headset connected to the front panel mic socket. We're running with a Wi-Fi link to my router into the internet. The remote end, let me just show you the remote webcam here, where we can see the K3 sitting next to the P3, which is in-op at the moment. I don't use that for remote operation, but you can see in the background the other RemoteRig box with the Wi-Fi antenna. So that's a rundown on the hardware. I'd just like to show you the 1258 boxes. These are almost identical to the K3 boxes. They were used to run my ICOM 7000 remotely. We'll see on the back here we have almost identical layout, apart from on the control box we have a CW speed knob. Otherwise it's absolutely identical. We have a USB socket to connect to a PC for setting up the RemoteRig parameters. We have an RS232 COM1 port, an auxiliary mic socket for connecting a headset or microphone, TTL socket, a speaker socket, and then on the other side we have the second RS232 COM port, COM2. We have a paddle socket for the paddle key, 12-volt DC power socket, a recessed reset button, an input-output socket, and a hardwired LAN Ethernet socket. And let me just show you inside, because that's pretty much the only thing you have to set up. Appropriate to which rig you're using, you just set these little red jumper cables, and all that information is incorporated in the user manual. So that's the RemoteRig boxes. Let's take a look at the software very quickly. I'm running a remote desktop into a laptop computer at my remote shack, and that enables me to control the rotator, the step IR, and also enables me to switch all the equipment off when I'm going to go QRT. The Pst Rotator Azimuth, it's an excellent program for controlling the rotator and a variety of different antennas. It enables you to change the antenna direction either on the compass rose. You can type in a call sign, and you can type in a heading, or you can click on the map here, and that will turn the rotator automatically to the desired heading. I'm also running the microbit RemoteRig setup panel here, and as you can see we can change the IP settings, the radio settings, and so on. That enables you to set up your RemoteRig box. The only other thing I've got here is the RemoteRig. It's a web switch, 5-channel switch, and that enables me to turn off all the equipment when I'm done with it. So it runs my power supplies, my cooling fans, the power for the stepper, and I've also got some air conditioning in the shack as well. So that's a rundown of the software we're using. I guess the next thing we can do is to see if we can connect the K3 Mini to the K3 over the internet. So I'm going to fire up the power supplies at the remote location. So I'll switch those on. I'm going to power up the linear amplifier. We'll switch that guy on and he should spring into life. There we go. And now we just need to fire up the K30 Mini here. So I'm going to switch the power button, and then hopefully it was on 20 meters, and if the two RemoteRig boxes are talking to each other, we should get a connection. It looks like, yep, we have got 15 meters connected, and we're showing 15 meters on the linear amplifier. My antennas are running through the linear amplifier, and so when I switch the linear off, all the antennas are grounded. So we get no static discharge damage to the equipment in the remote shack. Okay, so let's see, we should have audio coming through now. Let me just switch the audio on and see if we can hear anything coming through. Let's just see if we can find anybody on the band. Okay, so we have control over the remote K3, and what we need to do now is fire up the other software that I'm using. I'm using Ham Radio Deluxe logbook here, but to get the logbook to work, we have to run the Ham Radio Deluxe suite. So here's my COM ports. Let me just turn the volume down a little bit there. Okay, so Ham Radio Deluxe is fired up, and let me get the logbook going. That takes about a minute to get going. Okay, so that's everything set up. Let's go back to the remote desktop screen here, and just see if we got control over the rotator here. I can click on the compass rose here, and we should see the rotor moving now. Yep, we have control over the rotator. Step IR showing us on 15 meters. That will change automatically whenever we change frequency or change bands on the K3. The stepper will follow in sync. So there we go, that's everything connected up. I guess the next thing we need to do is to see if we can find somebody to talk to. So let's have a tune around the bands and see what we can pick up.